wondering what to do with all those pine cones that you either found or bought? Well, you're in luck. Hi, my name is Leslie and welcome to Happy Tuesday, where we do crafts and DIY and home decor and more. And today I've got 10 super cute, unique, and very budget-friendly projects for you using those pine cones. Now, if you stay to the very end, I'll give you a hint on one of the things we're doing for next week. So, let's get started. Let's get started with project number 1. Look at this super cute little gnome. First thing I am going to do is take some white chalk paint with my pine cone, and I'll just put it on the edge of the paintbrush and just put it on the edge of the pine cone. Now, to get your pine cones ready to craft, if you did not buy them and you foraged for them, you are going to either want to soak them for 30 minutes or so for all the bugs to soak out, but then you'll have to let them dry. Or you can put them on a cookie sheet and put them in a 200-degree oven for about 30 to 60 minutes, depending on how dirty you think they are. And you will find the roasted bugs on the bottom of the pan. So the next thing I did was I took a pipe cleaner and I wrapped it around to make some little gnome feet, and then I took part of this Snug-a-Doo sock from Dollar Tree and I hot glued it around to make it look like he had some little red slipper feet. And the next thing we're going to do is start working on the hat. For my gnome hat, I used the end piece of a toilet paper roll and some yarn, and I wrapped my yarn around this lid and then cut it once. It measures then about a 12-inch piece of yarn, and then I folded the yarn in half and ran one end through the loop and then pulled it tight. And here we'll do it just a little bit slower. So we've got a half a piece of yarn through the loop and pull it tight and then scrunch it up. I believe I probably had somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 50 pieces of yarn that I cut to use for his hat. And once you have that all done all the way around, you'll push all the things through so that it gives his hat a little brim, and then you will tie up about halfway up, tie it to create a little pom-pom on the top. And I'm going to give my little pom-pom a trim here, and then the hat will be complete. To secure the hat to the gnome, I am going to take my handy dandy little cutters over there. They're kind of like jewelry tools, but I actually bought it at Harbor Freight, and I'm going to trim a lot of that top part off so that I've got something to stick the glue to make the hat stay, but that it fits really well and creates a snug little place to put the gnome nose. And then I'm just going to use a bead and glue it in there for the gnome nose, and this project will be complete. Look, isn't he so adorable? Alrighty, let's move on into project number 2. I just love this tree so much. So you can either do it on one of the styrofoam trees. They carry those at Dollar Tree and Hobby Lobby and Michael's. Or you can use this very sturdy paper mache tree that I bought from Hobby Lobby. It cost about $3 right now. This is this medium size. They carry them in really small sizes in a package of like 6 or something, and then they also have a large size. Now you're going to take that little tool I bought and you are going to snip the pine cone pieces from the pine cone, leaving you with what looks like a palm tree, and then glue them on. You'll notice that I started putting the glue on them individually, and I used hot glue for this project. I started putting the hot glue on individually, and eventually I figured out a better way to do it, which I'll show you later. I'm going to say I probably cut up 8 or 10, maybe a few more pine cones, medium-size-ish pine cones for this project, for this particular tree. And I'm not going to lie, it is very time consuming, but I have a rustic Christmas and I'm actually making 3 of these, 2 of this size and 1 of the larger size to go in my decor. So just pop in something to binge and your favorite Christmas movies or Hallmark Christmas channel or something on Netflix and just go to town. It's very simple, but time consuming just the same. So here I've shown you how I've put the second layer on and I just kind of staggered it over the first layer and then just kept going all the way up the tree. And here's where I figured out a little bit quicker way to do it. And I glob some glue onto the tree and then take my pieces and butt them up next to each other on top of the layer before, and we will continue this all the way to the very top of the tree. Now, I did not do anything with the base of my tree. You really can't see it because it's going to be sitting in a snow blanket on my mantle, so I didn't worry about it. But the closer I got to the top of the tree, the smaller the little pine cone pieces I used were, and I took some that had very little of the um, brown edge, I guess, of the pine cone, so they were cut closer to the front of the little coney part, and did that all the way to the top of the tree. And I think it turned out so beautiful and so high end. And honestly, because I foraged my pine cones, it only cost me the $3 for the paper mache tree. And here we are finishing up the last little bits at the top, and this project will be complete. If you stayed this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. Comment down below the word of the day, which today is pine cones. And that'll bring us into project number 3. So we are going to faux bleach some pine cones. And I'm going to use this Decor light buttermilk colored paint. They also have regular buttermilk. I don't know what the difference really is as far as color. But first I'm going to show you, if you don't want to buy the Decor, that you can give a whitewashed look by using that white prang paint that you can buy from Dollar Tree. And I just added a little bit of water to it to make it a little less thick and scrunched it around inside this Ziploc bag. And that one that you see over to the right is what it looks like when it's dry. So to do the faux bleaching, we're going to take this buttermilk paint and I'm going to pour it into my crafting glass container and mix equal measures of water and paint together and pour it all in there. Mix it together, and then we're just going to start dipping pine cones. Now, I ended up dipping them the first time. I just did a real quick dip, and you can see that it's not completely saturated. So this one here, I actually did a more saturated look, and you can see the difference between the two. So I went back with my other ones and added more paint to them, made them more saturated. Keep in mind, when you do this, the pine cones are getting wet. And when pine cones get wet, then they actually close up. When I got ready to make my centerpiece that you'll see I get started here with in a minute, I had to stick them in the oven at 200 degrees for about 3 hours to get them to open up. And then I just took this little box I had and added some lights into it and just threw the pine cones in there, and it makes a super cute and easy centerpiece for my tablescape. And here we are all completed. I think it turned out beautiful. And let's move into project number 4. This snowman couldn't be more cute if he tried. And I'm just going to use a pine cone, some air clay, some more of those pipe cleaners, some toothpicks, some Snuggadoo socks, and a little tiny pine cone. And first thing, I'm going to take some of this air dry clay and I am going to make it into a ball for the snowman's head and face. And I also, even though you're going to see me paint these beads black, I actually took some more air dry clay and I made eyes and a nose, and you'll see that at the end. Even though I will glue that snowman's head on top of the pine cone here shortly, just as a reminder, it does require 72 hours worth of drying time. So now I'm going to fashion him some arms with the pipe cleaner and trim those off, and then give him a nice little Snuggadoo sock scarf, and I get the arms just the size that I need them. And next thing we are going to do is work on his little hands, mittens on his hands. So we're going to take some more of that Snuggadoo sock and hot glue that around the pipe cleaner. And then once we get that done, we will start working on his little ski poles. So that's what we're going to do with the toothpicks that you see there. So we're going to take just a tiny little bit of that air clay and we are going to put that around the bottom of his ski pole and then stick it inside his arms and wrap the pipe cleaner hand around it, and that will be his ski poles. And then we will get some little craft sticks and we're going to cut those off and make them into little skis. And here we are taking some more Snuggadoo sock to make the hat. I'm first going to glue a brim and cut off the edges there, and then glue a hat around. I'm going to use that leftover piece of pipe cleaner up in the top of the hat to keep it sturdy and stiff, and then I am going to take a pom-pom and put it up at the top. And then his hat will be all complete. Before I get too far into letting that snowman's head dry, I am going to take a bead and push it into the face to make a socket for his eyes and his nose. And here I'm adding one of those little tiny pine cones onto his hat for a little extra decor. His head and his hat and his nose and his eyes are on, we're going to give his little carrot nose a nice little coat of pumpkin chalk paint by Waverly, and he will be done. Look at him being so cute. And let's get off into project number 5 now. This is a real simple, easy one, and another very budget-friendly decor piece. So I'm just going to take some of this Eileen's craft glue that I bought from Dollar Tree and get it all the way around the pine cone, and then I'm going to stick it inside that Ziploc bag and take some Epsom salts that I bought at the Dollar Tree and sprinkle that all over, and do that for as many pine cones as you want for whatever item that you're going to use them for. And I will show you how I styled them here in a minute. They don't take very long to dry, and you can either give that little pine cone snow edge either on the top or the bottom. So I'm going to take one of these candles, and battery operated candles, and put it in this little bucket looking piece that I bought on clearance at Michael's. And I'm just going to get all my big pine cones in there, and then throw in a few smaller ones to fill in the gaps. And this styling will be complete for these very easy snowy pine cones. Let's start on project number 6, and this is another super simple one. I just took the largest pine cone I could find, and then I was going to use this plastic cup and cover it in twine for a base, but it was way too time consuming, wasn't coming out the way I wanted it to look, and it eventually cracked as I got about 3 or 4 rows down. So I gave up, and I'm going to use that little wooden piece that I bought at Dollar Tree as the base. And I'm just going to glue that on there, and then take some of these beads that I bought at Michael's on clearance for, I don't know, a couple bucks. And I'm going to use this star that I got from Dollar Tree, and I gave it a little coat of antique wax to make it kind of rusticy looking. And I'm going to put these beads on as little silver ornaments, and then take a string of fairy lights and wrap it around, and that's all there is to this project. And that now brings us to project number 7. This is such a super cute tree. So I have a thicker wood round, that foam tree form from Dollar Tree, and then I have a dowel. I believe I used a 3/8 inch piece, and I bought those at Dollar General. And we are going to cut pine cone flowers out of this. Now, every video tutorial I watched, they use some type of outdoor shears, trimming tools, but I didn't have any that were sharp, and so I went to Walmart and spent $6 and bought these, I want to say they're probably tin snips. I'm not going to say it was an easy task, but it turned out so cute and was so worth it. So the first little bit is easy to trim off the top. The next piece is just getting harder as the thickness of the pine cone increases, I guess. Now you can cut as many pieces as you want out of the pine cone to make these flowers, just depending on how thick or how thin you want them. And then I went in and trimmed a few other pieces off with my little favorite new trimming tools from Harbor Freight. And I'll just sit and cut pine cones. Now, keep in mind, this is messy. So, you may want to do this outside. It was raining the day I did it, so inside I am. But there are probably pine cone pieces floating all around my office now that I will be picking up for a while. And you'll need some good grip strength. I tried to think of a better way to do this, but didn't come up with one. So I'm going to take some of these little pine cone pieces that were left over from the earlier tree and just put them around the bottom. That way the bottom isn't showing any styrofoam, and I'm going to use my hot glue to do this, but make sure that you put your hot glue on the low temperature setting, because otherwise it will melt that styrofoam tree form. Once I got that bottom row of pine cones on, then I started picking the flowers in the shape and size for the location that I wanted them on my tree. And once I got a few of those on, I realized that I probably needed to add a few more of those little pine cone pieces to cover up some of the white. And in hindsight, I probably should have either painted or spray painted or somehow otherwise wrapped that styrofoam to cover up all the white. But it won't matter anyway, because I will be using that buttermilk paint to paint the flowers on the tree when I'm done. Now I'm going to use my miter shears and trim this dowel to make the tree trunk, and then I'm going to take my handy dandy little drill there and drill a little hole into this wood round so that it gives me a little bit more stability for my trunk when I hot glue that in there. And then I'm going to take this burlap ribbon that I bought at Michael's on clearance, and I'm going to use one of the styrofoam forms that I have and trace around it, and that's going to cover up the base of my tree. So I'll cut that out, and then I will cut a little center for the dowel to go through. And I've already pre-poked the hole into my styrofoam tree there that I have over there on the left. To painting, I painted the dowel with that buttermilk paint, and now I'm going to paint the tree. I'm going to leave the centers brown so that it does look like a flower on the tree. And originally I started using that buttermilk paint with some water and making it kind of a whitewash, but as I go along I decided I wanted it a little bit darker, so I went straight paint and painted over some of those original whitewashed pieces. And now that all that's left to do is put it together, I'm going to take my hot glue and my little silicone spatula there, and I will glue that burlap onto the bottom of the tree, and then I will glue the dowel in and glue it all to the base. And I think this turned out so high end and so adorable, and I can't wait to style it with my Christmas decor when I get it put up this year. That brings us to project number 8. We are going to be making pinecone fire starters. I'm going to start with 2 cups of beeswax, and I'm going to put it in my glass craft measuring cup, and I am going to put that in the microwave and melt it. Once that's all melted, I will be adding essential oils to make it smell like Christmas, and I put in 4 to 6 drops each of clove, cinnamon, and orange. And then I will be taking some of that red dye powder that I have and dyeing my wax to give it a red tint for Christmas. Once I get that part completed, I will be taking that twine that you see up at the top there, and I'm going to use it to make wicks for my fire starters. And I'm going to tie a knot and make a little loop at the end and put that on the top. That gives me something to hold on to, and also something when you burn it to light. And I'm going to wrap that all through the pine cone, and then I'm going to start dipping. Now the directions that I was using said to let this wax sit for about 15 minutes after it came out of the microwave, and so that's why I'm checking the time, but it already looked like it was getting kind of clumpy, and I didn't think that was necessarily a good idea. The thought behind it is that if the wax is too hot, then you will have to do multiple coats instead of just 2 or 3. I'm not sure that I let my microwave get that hot, so the wax wasn't melting the next coats off as I was putting new coats on. But I went ahead and I did 2 coats on each, melting the wax again in between so that it isn't too cold and isn't getting too clumpy. And then here we are. Very cute, quick, and inexpensive. And these could be used as Christmas gifts. And now we're at project number 9. This is a pine cone candle. So we're going to use some candles from the Dollar Tree. I picked a fir smell, and I show 4, but I actually used 5 to fill this vase glass that I bought at the Dollar Tree. It is quite large, but I love the shape of it, and I thought it would make a really cute pine cone. So here we are, up close and personal, into trimming those little pine cone pieces off the pine cone center. And this tool is super sharp that I got at Harbor Freight, and it makes this job really easy, honestly. So go pick yourself up one. It was only a couple of bucks. And then I'm going to take those pine cone pieces and I'm going to glue them right onto the glass. Now I've got the hot glue at the high temperature setting, but I found that you can only put a tiny bit of glue on that glass because the glass cools the glue too fast, and then it wasn't working to make the pine cone stick. Do the bottom layer. I trimmed the bottom of the brown part so that it was flush with the bottom of the glass, and that gave it a nice clean edge. And once I finish this, then I will be putting candle wick into the bottom of this. Now I use 3 since it's a large container, and then I will melt the wax and pour the wax in, and that will be all there is to this project. As I was finishing this, I thought, if you had a candle already, you could just add the pine cone pieces onto your already candle. It would also make a great gift. And our last project number 10, we are going to be making scented pine cones. Now I know you can buy these all over the stores everywhere, but usually for 4 or 5 bucks, all you're going to get is 3 or 4 or maybe 5 pine cones. And some of them smell so hideous that you don't want those in your house anyway. So I'm going to take 1/3 of a cup of almond oil, or you could use coconut oil, and I'm going to mix about 20 drops of essential oil in there. And making it this way, it doesn't have to be cinnamon, it could be any flavor you want. And then I will let those sit overnight. The longer you let them sit in this baggie, the stronger the smell will be. And then I took them out. I put a parchment piece down and then an old scrap towel took them out and let them dry, and then we will style them in this glass piece. Now I bought this glass container at Walmart for $5, and then of course the fairy lights I'm going to wrap around my pine cones and kind of fill it all in there, and I think it turned out super high end. And you can make as many scented pine cones as you want for very little money. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really did enjoy our time together. Now, since you stayed to the end, a sneak peek on one of the things we're going to be doing next week. First, you're going to need one of these picket fences from the Dollar Tree, and you're going to need a dowel. You'll also need some paint and some sticker letters or vinyl for your Cricut, and probably some hot glue. Seems like we always need hot glue. Until then, make it a great day and Happy Tuesday!